Hi guys, welcome back to the next episode of Director's Chair. Today we're looking at the horror world of Wes Craven, so let's get into it. Welcome back to the next episode of Director's Chair. We're talking about directors. Today we're talking about Wes Craven. Before I do it, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell for his algorithm. So yeah, I'm gonna go through his movies. I'm gonna tell you four about him to start. So in 1972 we had The House on the Left, and this is an exploitation horror film. This was Wes Craven's first movie, and it stars Sandra Peabody, Lucy Grantham, David A. Weiss, Fred Lincoln, Jeremiah Rain, Mark Sheffer, Ellen Shaw, and Richard Towers. Um, it made $2.2 million on a $90,000 budget. So the movie, no massive box office draw at drive-ins. Critics derided the film for its controversial violence and Craven's use of black comedy. Scenes of slapstick are undercut with scenes of rape and humiliation. However, it has since gained a cult following. And, and the film was particularly troubled for lead actress Peabody, who recalled struggling filming due to a constantly changing script and suffering abuse from her male co-stars. Many of the other actors involved in the film have expressed regret for starring in it decades after its release. And I think this movie's good. I've seen this movie. It's okay. It's not my favorite Wes Craven movie. So that's Last House on the Left, and then in 1975 we had The Fireworks Woman, which starred Erica Easton, Jennifer Jordan, Leslie Coopers, and Ellis Lay. So I've not seen this movie. I don't know if it's good or not. Next we got Have the Hills Have Eyes, which was a horror film. It stars Susan Lena, Robert Houston, Martin Spear, Dee Wallace, Russ Grieve, John Stedman, Michael Berryman, and Virginia Vincent. Made $25 million on a $350,700 dollar. Reviews for the film were mostly positive, with critics praising its tense narrative. Some critics have interpreted the film as containing commentary on morality and American politics, and the film has since become a cult classic. Now, this did have a remake in 2006, and I also did have a sequel, Hills Have Eyes 2. I forgot to mention The Last House on the Left, that also did have a remake 2009. And I kind of like the remake more because I feel like the original one was a bit slow. And this one is good. I like both this one and the remake. So that's that Hills Have Eyes, great movie. Then 1981 we had Deadly Blessing. Now this was a slasher film. Um, this starred Maren Jensen, Lisa Hartman, Sharon Stone, Susan Buckner, Jeff East, Loris Nettleton, and Ernest Borgnine. It made $8.3 million on a $2.5 to $3 million budget. It was poorly received by critics, and this movie's okay. So Deadly Blessing. Then 1982, we had Swamp Thing. Now this was a super horror film based on the Vertigo / DC character of the same name. This stars Lewis Jordan, Jonah Barbu, Ray Wise, and Dick Durick. And it made this movie's okay. There was a sequel called The Return of Something, which that one was not by Wes Craven, but I prefer this one much more than Return of Something. So that's Swamp Thing. Then 1984 we had A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now this was a supernatural slasher film, and it's the first installment in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and it stars John Saxon, Ronnie Blackley, Heather Langenkamp, Amanda Wise, Nick Corey, Johnny Depp, and Robert Englund. It made $57 million on $1.1 million budget. The film received critical acclaim upon its release, and has since been considered to be one of the greatest horror films of all time. The film spawned a franchise consisting of 6 sequels, a television series, a crossover with Friday the 13th, various merchandise, and a remake of the same name. And I like this one. It's not my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but I like this one. I think it's I take it back. I think it's probably the best one. And this one's a good movie. So it's Nightmare on Elm Street. I think it's probably my favorite Wes Craven movie. I just enjoy this one so much. So yeah, it's A Nightmare on Elm Street. And then in 1985 we have The Hills Have Eyes 2. Now this was a horror film. And this was a sequel to the 1977 film. And it stars Tamara Stafford, Kevin Spirits, John Bloom, Michael Berryman, um, Penny Johnson, Janice Blythe, John Laughlin, Will E. Pugh, Peter Frenchett, and Robert Houston. And yeah, so this movie's okay. It's not as good as the first one. So that's The Hills of Ice 2. Then in 1986, we had Deadly Friend, which was a science fiction horror film. It starred Matthew Laboratics, Kirsty Swanson, Michael Sharrett, and Anne Twining. Made 8.9 million on that $11 million budget. Um, so it's based on the 1985 novel Friend by Diana Henstel. And yeah, so it had mixed reviews. Well, it had negative reviews. So yeah, so Wes Craven has so yeah, so this wasn't actually the original. The studio actually reshot and re-edited the film, altering it from post-production, and it lost most of the original plot and more scenes between the characters. While the scenes, good more grisly deaths and new ending were added. Um, so in 2014, in April 2014, an online petition for the release of the original cut was made, though we still haven't got it. But maybe eventually we get it. But that's a really fun, okay movie. Then in 1988, we had Serpent and the Rainbow, which was a horror film. It's loosely based on a non-fiction book of the same name by Wade Davis. It stars Bill Pullman, Kathy Tyson, Ziggs Moke, and Paul Winfred. It made 19.6 million on a $7 million budget, and this movie's okay. Um, so that's Serpent and the Rainbow. 1989, we had Shocker. This one was a supernatural horror film. It starred Michael Murphy, Peter Berg, Cammy Cooper, and Midge Pileggi. Made 16.6 million. This was a good movie, so Shocker. The 1991, we had The People Under the Stairs, which was a horror comedy film. It starred Brandon Adams, Everett McGill, and Wendy Robbie, and AJ Langler. And and yeah, I saw this movie. So yeah, the film was a surprise commercial success and has been announced for a satirical depiction of gentrification, um, class warfare, and capitalism. And yeah, made 3.1 million on a $6 million budget. So yeah, I rewatched this recently a couple months ago, and I liked it. There's been talks of a remake, but I don't know if it's gonna happen. And which I don't know. But that was up until however the remake fell flat. After Craven but died, but yeah, so yeah, so there was gonna be a remake, a television. There was going to be a remake on the Jordan Peele and Win Rosenfeld, which it might happen. I don't know, but if it doesn't happen, regardless, this is still a good movie. In 1994, we had Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which was a standalone film and the seventh installment in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. It is not part of the continuity as previous films, and it stars Heather Langenkamp, Robert Englund, Michael Hughes, um, John Saxon, and made 19.8 million. And yeah, yeah, it's a good movie. I enjoy it. So I'm happy Wes Craven came back to the Nightmare on Elm Street because he needed to because the sequels are getting a bit worse. So yeah. Then in 1995 we had Vampire in Brooklyn. Now this was a vampire black comedy film. It starred Eddie Murphy, Angela Bassett, Alan Payne, Kadeem Hardison, and Ziggs Moke. Made 35 million on $40 million budget. It received mostly negative reviews from critics and failed to meet the studio's expectations, and it was unsuccessful at the box office. Despite this, Vampire in Brooklyn has been regarded as a cult classic and has been subject to critical reevaluation, especially towards Craven's direction, Murphy, and Bassett's performances and the chemistry and the humor. Now, yeah, so So yeah, that's Vampire in Brooklyn. Then 1996 we had Scream. Now this was a slasher film, and it starred David Arquette, Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, Matthew Lillard, Rose McGowan, Skeet Ulrich, and Drew Barrymore. Made 173 million on a 14 to $15 million budget. Um, so yeah, this was the first installment in the Scream franchise. Um, and yeah, so it received positive reviews, and it made 173 and became the highest grossing slasher film to the release of Halloween 2018. It still remains the highest grossing slasher film in adjusted dollars, and yeah, so yeah, it was credited with for revitalizing the slasher genre in the 1990s, which were considered to be almost dead. Following an influx of direct-to-video titles and numerous sequels to established horror franchises of the 1970s and 1980s, Scream's success led to a series of sequels, beginning with Scream 2 and later TV show, and media turned the property into a franchise. And this one's good. I think it's one of my favorite Scream movies, so Scream. Then 1997, we had Scream 2. Now, this was a slasher film, and it's a sequel to Scream, a second installment in the Scream film series. It stars David Arquette, Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jamie Kennedy, Laurie Metcalf, Jerry O'Connell, Jada Pink, and Liv Schreiber. It made 172.4 million on a $24 million budget. It received positive reviews, with some arguing that it surpassed the original quality, but Trami received positive reception for his score for evolving the musical scores of the characters created on screen. Although some critics claim that the most memorable pieces from the film were created by composers Danny Elfman and Hans Zimmer. And Elfman contributed has been severely written for the film, but Zimmer's score for Broken Arrow was controversially used in the film, replacing Beltrami's own work. The film's soundtrack achieved moderate sales success, and so yeah, this one's good. Uh, I don't think it's good as the first one, but I still like it, so Scream. And then in 1999, we had Music of the Heart, which is a biographical musical drama film, and is based on the 1995 documentary Small Wonders. And it stars Meryl Streep, Aidan Quinn, Angela Bassett, Gloria Estefan, Jane Leaves, and Kieran Culkin and J.O. Saunders. It made $50 million and $25 million budget. It was director Craven's first and only mainstream cinematic film, not in the horror or thriller genre, and also his only film to receive Oscar nominations. And yeah, so it's good. It has Music of the Heart. Then in 2000 we had Scream, which was a slasher film. It's a sequel to Scream 2 and the third installment in the Scream film series. It starred David Arquette, Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, Patrick Dempsey, Scott Foley, Lance Henriksen, Matt Keesler, Jenny McCarthy, Emily Mortimer, Parker Posey, Dion Richmond, and Patrick Warburton. And made 161.8 million. And yeah, this one I think is the weakest of the Scream movies, so Scream 3. Then 2005 we had Cursed, which was a horror comedy film, and it starred Christina Ricci, Joshua Jackson, Jesse Eisenberg, Judy Greer, Scott Baio, Willow Ventimiglia, Shannon Elizabeth, and Maya. So it was originally planned. The film took more than 2 years to be made, originally planned, during which producers Bob and Harvey Weinstein kept asking for reshoots and changes to the plot. Re-edited the movie to give the film a PG-13 rather than originally intended R rating, and fired veteran makeup artist Rick Baker to replace the werewolves he created with computer-generated ones. The film was a box office bomb and received generally negative reviews from critics. Craven himself was very disappointed as well. People are still hashtagging release the Craven cut, which, I mean, we got the Snyder cut, so it could be possible. I don't know if we'll get it, but... So yeah, then also in 2005 we had Red Eye, which was a psychological thriller film, and it starred Rachel McAdams, Cillian Murphy, and Brian Cox. It made $96.2 million and $26 million budget. Received positive reviews from critics and fans of Craven's work and was a box office success. An extended version of the film, which added previously unused footage to increase runtime, was broadcast on ABC Network several times. This is an okay movie, so that's Red Eye. And then in 2006, we had Paris Jetem, which was an anthology film starring an ensemble cast of characters. So you have Alfonso Cuarón. There's 22 directors, including Wes Craven, and yeah. So I think he directed, yeah, he directed a segment, and Paris Chase. I don't know if I got that right. So 22 directors directed this film. Wes Craven was one of them. He directed a segment of it. So yeah, I thought I would just add it. And then 2010 we had Take My Soul. So which is a slasher film. Um, so it is the first film since 1994's Wes Craven's New Nightmare that he wrote, produced, and directed. It stars Max Theriot, Denzel Whitaker, Raw Esparza, and Sharika Epps. It made 21.5 million on a $25 million budget. It was unsuccessful at the box office and received mostly negative reviews. And I enjoy this movie, so that's my soul to take. And then finally in 2011, we had Scream 4, which was a slasher film. It is a sequel to Scream and the fourth installment in the Scream film series. This starred David Arquette, Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, Emma Roberts, Hayden Panettiere, Auntie Anderson, Alison Brie, Alan Brody, Rory Culkin, Mariel Jaff, Eric Knudsen, Mary McDonnell, Molly Shelton, Nicole Tortorella. Made 97.2 million on a $40 million budget, and it received mixed reviews from critics. At the time of release, receiving praise for its performances, direction, and humor, but criticism for the film's lack of scares and reliance on cliched formulas. However, many consider an improvement over its predecessor, and has since has enjoyed several positive reappraisals since, particularly for its persistent examination of the impact of social media. It made 97 million, becoming the lowest grossing film in the Scream franchise. Scream 4 was also the final film to be directed by Craven before his death. It was followed by an anthology television series, Scream, which was produced for MTV without the involvement of the main crew or main cast or crew of films. Although Jackson returned to voice Ghostface in the third season, a film that is a direct sequel titled Scream was released in 2022, which that one was not directed by Scream, no, Wes Craven, and we did have Scream 6 also. And this one's okay. I think it's much better than 3, but it's not my favorite Scream movie. And so sadly, Wes Craven would pass away on August 30th, 2015, making Scream 4 his final movie. And he died at the age of 76, which, even though Wes Craven is no longer with us, his movies will still be iconic, they'll still be memorable. And I think he's probably one of the best horror directors out there. And he's up there with George A. Romero. And so that's it. That's all of Wes Craven's movies. I like most of his movies. So that's it. That's the horror world of Wes Craven. So guys, thank you much for my video, and I'll see you in my next video, and goodbye.